before we get in the program, it's time for the joke of the week.
Yeah, so why didn't anyone laugh at the gardener's jokes?
Too sour, too
corny. They were too corny.
Corny, play on words,
Yeah.
corn. All right.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests, insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
So, garden mess. We like to inform you of these particular activities in which some people choose to do for a variety of reasons. Some people swear that they work perfectly and there's no reason why science should disprove them. However, science in this instance, as well as university extension offices and universities whom do this for a living, have disproven these particular activities to be functional or productive. So we're going to go over several of them, and you may be doing them, and you may have done them for years, but you don't have to do them anymore because they don't work, regardless of what kind of results you're seeing.
Yeah, so the first one is that drought-tolerant plants don't need to be watered. So this is a common thought, like, I'm growing these drought-tolerant plants. Whatever rain happens should be just fine. And eventually, yes, they should be just fine with the rain that you get. However, you want to make sure that you are growing the right plant for your zone, but also they do need water like the first year. So you want to make sure, because it gives them a chance to get established. So when you plant a new drought-tolerant plant, you want to make sure that they are getting water to get their roots established, to get established into the earth. And that gives them some kind of a training wheels for those tough plants. Once they're a year old, they can pretty much fend for themselves. And then you do want to give them a layer of mulch the first year as well. You can continue to mulch year after year, especially if it's something like a perennial that you put in a bed to just be, and you want the mulch there to look pretty and nice. You can add more mulch as time goes on, but the first year you should definitely give them mulch.
See, when I hear about drought-tolerant plants, people, you go to the garden center and you see the little tag, drought-tolerant. It's not like you're going to the desert in New Mexico or Arizona or wherever, and you see the cacti and you see all of these plants that are growing that get minimal or no rain for months and months on end. This is a totally different type of situation,
right? So
than plants that have been adapted in that particular environment, even if you're buying it from the garden center and it's supposed to be a plant that is like that.
Right. So these are things like yarrow, Russian sage, coneflower. Those are common drought-tolerant plants. There's there's more, but these are the ones that are their actual plants, are not just like cacti or succulents.
Well, we see that in tomatoes and vegetables. They're more drought tolerable, not drought tolerant. They can sustain themselves a little bit better when it's cold, when it's hot and dry, than the traditional tomato or pepper or eggplant. But it doesn't mean it's good for 17 weeks without any water and 105 degrees.
Right.
All right, next one, Holly.
So gravel in the bottom of a container to help drainage. This is the thought that you put, like, whether it be gravel, rocks,
styrofoam,
shards,
packing peanuts, aluminum cans.
Just random stuff. And basically it actually can prevent the water from draining out as easily. I mean, obviously, if you put cans, you're just filling space, but adding anything extra like gravel or something that is even possibly less porous than soil is just going to prevent the water to drain out. It could possibly cause root rot for certain plants. So a drainage hole is enough. You don't need to add more items for the drainage. Drainage hole is just fine. The next one is dish soap is a natural, safe alternative to pesticides. I think some people get confused. There is insecticidal soap, and that can damage the plants. if you use too much. And then dish soap can also kind of damage the plants because it is a man-made detergent, and it's chemical cleaner, sometimes degreaser. So if you're using your like regular dish soap to use an insecticide, that does not work. Now you can use like a natural dish soap sometimes to help apply things like neem oil, but you're not using a lot.
It's the adherence. It's the glue that holds it onto the plant for the application to be functional.
Right. So what you want to do is you want to use insecticidal soap. They are made to be used on plants to kill or repel insects without harming the plants, and those are regulated by the EPA, so there is science behind them. Your regular run-of-the-mill just dish soap is not something that is, monitored by the EPA for plant usage.
On a side note on that, if it says organic, it doesn't mean it's necessarily safer. It is less toxic and less potent than the chemical alternative. So in a sense, basically it will work. It's not as strong, meaning it's not as damaging to the environment, but it's still a chemical, even though it's labeled organic.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Deer-resistant plants on the edge of your yard will keep the deer out. Incorrect.
Incorrect. So deer, they're not, I guess.
Michigan State University Extension put this to test.
Yeah. So deer are not, food stupid. They know how to find food. So just because you put, your rosemary, ferns, anything, I think there's like a Mexican sunflower. Yes. That they're gonna be like, oh, I don't like that.
Well, we gotta go somewhere else.
I gotta go somewhere else.
They've blocked us out.
It's kind of like thinking that your hungry teenager isn't going to eat your cookies if you put the kale in front of them.
You just reach around the kale to get the cookies.
So the most effective way is to use something like
deer defeat
or a fence.
Deer defeat is an all natural spray that you apply on your plants that will dry in 30 minutes and last for over 30 days through rain, snow, and sleet. And it only smells for the first 30 minutes to humans, but it is still potent to a level which animals can pick it up, deer, rabbit, and groundhog, for a duration of time. You can use coupon code RADIO to save 10% on your order at deerdefeat.com. And side note, all the coupon codes, if you're looking for a coupon code on the sponsors in which you have heard on the program, you can go to our parent website, The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener, and click on the Money tab at the top of the page, and they're all listed for you.
Yes. So deer defeat, a fence, those are basically the guarantee. You can plant the stuff, you can try, but deer they're not dumb. They know how to get their resources. Deer
can jump. White-tailed deer now. I'm not familiar with mule deer or black-tailed deer. White-tailed deer can jump as high as 8 feet from a standing start and up to 12 feet high with a running start. So it all also depends on how the food situation is in your area. Is there abundance of food? Or is your garden next to a wooded area? Is it in the open? Is there a lot of vegetation around your neighborhood or your country, your rural area? If there is not, then there is more of a invitation that you're presenting for the deer to come in because they are not finding it anywhere else. So the deer defeat it doesn't repel them, it prevents them from consuming the plants in which you're trying to grow. So let's keep that clear. It's not a fence, it's not you can't come in. They're going to wander through, but they're not going to consume the plants because you've applied the deer defeat. So keep that all in mind on what's around, what's available, and that might also be what's causing them to come in. A very rainy year, a lot of vegetation, probably not going to have much. Very drought stricken year, your garden looks very lush. Hey, it's a things are going to come over, and not only just deer, but rabbit, squirrel, anything else to want to consume what you have grown. If fertilizer is good, then, well, more is better.
So, yeah, I mean, it's almost like, this Italian seasoning mix is really good. So I definitely need to load it on. Yes and no, but not for fertilizer. So too much fertilizer can create high soluble salt levels that can burn the roots of plants and lead to plant decline.
It's kind of like, and Holly and I are not alcohol consumers, but it's kind of like you see this on TV. If one beer is good, well, two must be better, and if two is better, four must be even better. You can get, there's a level there. You've crossed a line somewhere, and too much is not good.
Right.
Too much fun is not good either. That's dangerous as well.
Yes. So, so too much fertilizer can create this problem that can cause root rot, it can cause plant decline, and adding fertilizer into a struggling garden will have little effect. So things like, making sure that you have drainage, your soil is healthy.
Do you have a good base before you start adding fertilizer?
Exactly. Most plants can get what they need from the soil as long as you keep adding compost and feeding the soil and replenishing the soil, adding leaves, etc.
Now, we're not saying that fertilizer is bad. There is organic fertilizer, which is safer and better for your garden than a chemical-based or a chemical liquid-based that allows the plants to become addicted or dependent on it. So, your mileage may vary, but if you start with a good foundation, good soil, you can add fertilizer, but add it according to the recommended rate, because otherwise you're just wasting it. Well, what people are not wasting is their time when they go to waltonsinc.com to get their spices, seasonings, and butchering equipment.
Yeah, we were brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. We know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's Inc., you can get the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat products your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatjuststicks.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's even has a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.